We've been residents of Charles County for almost 25 years, and I've seen the population grow significantly since we first moved to the county. I'm wondering if we should be managing residential development or continuing to allow it to grow, and what are your thoughts and what do you recommend about doing so?
First speaking is Henry Thompson.
As far as the number of residences that are being developed and built, for every home that's built and every child in that home that has to go to school, it's $7,500 per year. If you have 2 or more children, it multiplies that number. That creates quite a burden on our finances for both the school district and the Charles County government, because the Charles County government ultimately finances the school district. I believe the best option to have is increase business production and the choices we have as far as the numbers of businesses that we license and allow to enter into the county, and allow more production of different types of corporations in the area. That allows more jobs and more choices for our citizens to work and stay here in the area. Building more houses is not necessarily the best option. I would prefer more to build more businesses. Thank you.
Reuben Collins will speak next.
You will not find one person that is running on the idea that they want to see more houses and more development. I mean, it's first off, it's not sustainable. And in any government, when you recognize the importance of developing your overall commercial tax base and how it actually impacts government resources, you understand from the very beginning that residential development creates a strain on local governments and their economies. We understand that. But the challenge will always be, how do we actually develop a measured approach to growth? There will always be some degree of growth. That we can't get around that. That's a reality. But it's important for us to understand fundamentally, when we make decisions about growth, how it impacts the entire county. And I stressed earlier, and I think it's extremely important, when we get into a discussion about how growth is impacting our county, and we place emphasis on one side of the county without recognizing how it's impacting the most urban and developed side of our county, then we're not really providing smart growth, no matter what those decisions that are being made, in this instance, on the western side of the county. We need to understand and recognize as we continue to grow as a community, because if any of us come before you and suggest that somehow we don't want to see any more growth, we're not being honest. Because if this county actually stopped growing, that would mean the demise of our county. Growth, to some degree, recognizes the vibrancy of this community. And that's something we should be proud of. But the point is, and we need to understand very clearly, with ideas such as the Watershed Conservation District, it has an adverse effect and impact on the citizens of Waldorf, who are taking the brunt of overcrowding in terms of our roads and infrastructure.
Brian Claus will now answer this question.
As Reuben said, there's not of the 25 candidates running for commissioners here in Charles County, there's no one running on let's build more houses. But let's talk about facts. The facts of the matter is that we have built a lot of homes, and there are still a lot of homes in the pipeline. You hear talk about Docket 90 having been amended, and that the commissioners have reduced the number of units that will go into the old St. Charles, Lennar. We know that those are going to be 7,000 units that are going to be brought online in the next 20 years. We now know there's a new report out by Maryland Department of Transportation that 77% of our residents now commute outside of Charles County. Maryland has the worst commutes of every state in the nation, and Charles County has the worst commute of any county in the state of Maryland. We are bringing more and more people in. We haven't figured out how to make their lives easier. What we need to do is we need to completely change the way we think about how to affect quality of life here in Charles County. And that is a laser focus on economic development, bringing employment centers, hubs. There's an exciting project that has already been presented to the town of La Plata you drive one place, you park your car, and you spend your entire day there. And if you live in La Plata or anywhere in Charles County, you've got a 5-minute ride home. That's an exciting project. We need to re-engage big thinkers who are not afraid to think big again. But you have to change the anti-business culture of Charles County in order to do that. Thank you.
Peter Murphy.
Thank you very much. It's true, the growth certainly is part of our culture here in Charles County. I can just give you some numbers. In 2015, these are number of permits that were granted to single family. There are 527. The next year, 497, 479. They are in the pipeline, folks. They're going to be there no matter what you do. And we're not in the position of stopping growth. You can't. There's nothing healthy about that. It is true. But let's think about it. People aren't coming here because this is a bad place to live. They're coming here because they want to be here, because we have many amenities. It's a wonderful place to live. And we have to make sure that they're able to put their children in schools where they're getting good educations, where they feel safe, where they know that they can travel within the county. But you need a government that's going to make things happen and get things off paper. You know, for the first time in years, we're building and finishing Western Parkway. For the first time in ever, we're putting a roundabout on Billingsley and Middletown. Because why? It moves traffic faster. It's much safer. I mentioned it earlier. Never have we gotten the kind of money, $13 million, to fix the intersection up at 301 and 5. That doesn't happen by accident. We don't get Greenberg and Givens in Charles County because we're not friendly to business. We don't get Lennar that wants to invest in St. Charles because we're not friendly to business. We lost the owner of Blue Crabs, but we found somebody else because they wanted to locate here. We just don't make a lot of noise about it, folks. We're out there doing this work every day. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to make these things happen, but they're coming. And so when you think about growth, the smartest way to go about it is that we need to work with the infrastructure that we have, because we cannot afford to continually raise your property tax rates to pay for all of these things that it brings. I'm telling you now, in the 4 years now, we've not raised your property tax rates once. We've not raised your income tax rates once. We have not. And we've still been able to maintain the AAA bond rating. We're still able to take care of our schools and our police and all those other things. And that's what comes with growth. That's what you want. You want someone to be able to work within the financial structure to make sure that all those things are available. So when you hear about Lennar, that's significant. They were entitled to another 10,000 units. And by the way, that didn't include senior living. But we worked with them, and they were willing to drop that down to about 7,000. 3,000 less units in that area is significant over time. And you know what else they did for us? They came forward and they said, you know what? For every house, we're going to give you a development fee of thousands of dollars. And you know what that goes to? Building new schools, because the state is cutting back on what they give us. These people aren't investing in Charles County because we're not friendly. They're here because they want to be here. They see a future. And we want people to come here, and we want them to live here, and we want them to enjoy all the amenities in this county. Thank you.